thanks for kind of last minute. Freaking,
Hey.
you know,
No worries.
Kelly was supposed to, but she's not doing the best right now, so I ain't gonna put her
All right.
through a bunch of questions. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have with us today a very good friend of mine. I've known him for a few years now. Gordon Rupp. He is 69 years old, born August 4th, 1955. He's born in Oakland, California. His father's Floyd Rupp, and his mother is Marjorie Rupp. Has one sister. At the age of 15, he was taking flight lessons, a suggestion from his father, who was a World War II fighter pilot in the Pacific Theater. Flying solo by the age of 16, even before he had his driver's license. Entrepreneur spirit arose when he had a very young age, which we'll kind of dive into. Became a police dispatcher at the age of 19. Went through Reserve Police Academy in 77. Alameda. Pronounce that for me again.
Yeah, Alameda.
Alameda County Search and Rescue. Volunteer EMT police officer, assistant fire chief, assistant director of San Jose Search and Rescue. An electrician who ultimately became owner. He'll dabble into that too as well. He's an instructor. He joined Team Rubicon, which was a team lead, and then ultimately became a planning section chief, father of 3 stepchildren, and a happily married man. Thanks for joining me today, buddy.
Yes, sir.
At any point, anytime you want to take a break, don't hesitate to let me know.
Okay.
I know usually about 40, 45 minutes into it, most people got to pee.
Okay.
Kind of personal background. You had a very interesting career throughout
Yes.
your existence. Can you start a little bit by kind of sharing a little bit about your early years and what inspired you to pursue such a diverse range of kind of professions?
Well, when I was young, my dad knew a police detective in the city I lived in, Hayward, California. And he would come by the house every now and then with his unmarked unit, and we'd go out and he'd show me the radio and the shotgun and so forth and so on. And that kind of inspired me. You know, when you're a young boy, you know, you're always asked, what do you want to do? You know, and then the rote answers were usually, I want to be a cop, or I want to be a fireman, or I want to be a doctor, you know, something along those lines. So I always had my hand in knowing what's going on in my neighborhood. You know, the police cars would zip by or the fire trucks would zip by. We'd try and find out what was going on and so forth and so on. But it was, you know, it was just a side thing, really. So as I got older and went to high school, you know, senior year in high school, and I didn't have a real idea of what I wanted to do in life. You know, a lot of high school kids are like that. And I used to work at a gas station, and the local cops would come in there in the evening. I worked the evening shift to either use the head or whatever. And one night, one of the cops was saying, "Hey, you know, the next city over is hiring police cadets." I said, "Really?" So I said, "Well, maybe I'll check into that." And I did. I applied because it wasn't far from home. And sure enough, I got hired as a police cadet. So that's how this whole thing started.
And like, just so the audience knows, like back in that kind of era, like it was a little bit smaller, tight knit communities too, wasn't it? It was kind of like everybody.
We moved into Hayward in the latter part of 1955. I was probably 6 months old, and it was a new subdivision, brand new homes. Nobody had ever lived there before. So all the people that moved into that neighborhood got to know one another. I mean, back then, like I said, it's the 50s. You know, you got to know your neighbors. You got to know everybody. So it was a tight-knit
kind of baby booming type community too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. And then like these were all kind of like almost like the first vision of would you almost call it a subdivision type deal, like
Yes.
same cookie cutter homes but different,
Yeah.
or
They were Eichler homes. I don't know if you know who Eichler was. He was a famous architect. So there were Eichler homes mixed in with other homes, but it was all brand new. Everything was brand new.
that's cool. Um, so what now have you was your parents always did they always live in California?
No, my father was born in Indiana, and then he bounced around a little with his family moving out west. So they finally moved to Oakland. They lived in Oakland. My dad lived in Oakland. Went to high school in Oakland. Uh, my mother, she was born and raised here in California, so she never left.
Gotcha. Um, how do you think living in California, like your early years, kind of shaped your perspectives on life? Was it just? I mean, obviously the weather was probably much nicer back then. Like,
Yeah, the weather was nice. You had your summers. Summer school. Getting out of school, you had summer. All the kids in the neighborhood were playing ball or going up in the hills, hiking, and riding their bikes and things like that. And then, as you got older, you did more adult things. You got your driver's license and so forth and so on. And then you discover girls. They're so
you
uh, that's how that all progressed. But California, I love it. I've been here all my life. Uh, I would probably we're thinking of maybe getting a second home in Arizona, but family has kept us here. I mean, my mother passed away several years ago, and my dad passed away 4 years ago, and I was his caretaker here at the home. I brought him to my house, and he lived his last year here. So, and my wife, same thing. Her mother lives, 45 minutes from here, and she's going through cancer and other things. So, we wanted to stay here until, you know, our parents were taken care of.
yeah.
So, we may get another home in Arizona soon and make that our permanent home. The taxes here just kill you,
Oh, I'm sure of it.
and I can
I'm
go into
sure
that
they.
a little further. But
Yeah, I'm sure they
you
haven't
know,
gotten any better.
no.
um, since you've lived there your entire life, and we'll kind of dabble into that too. Like, what are the biggest shifts and changes you've seen in the past 20 years? Like, like tax or
Well,
um,
California used to be a red state.
yeah,
You know, Ronald Reagan was the governor, and it went on to several Republican governors, and things seemed straight, and then they started veered to blue, and right now we've got a super majority of Democrats voting for all the Democrat policies that are running the state into the ground. So
yeah.
that's the change that I've seen.
Well, now, what
I
would you,
mean,
when do you think that started to be like or began? You think?
well, uh, it would be probably the late 70s.
Yeah,
I mean, when I worked at the police department for 5 years, I saw what police officers were able to do.
yeah.
Today, I see more of what police officers are not able to do.
Hands
You know what?
behind their back type deal.
Yeah, yeah, right, absolutely, yeah. So, in my day, we didn't have uh, cameras on our chest.
Yeah.
We went out and had voice recorders that we would carry, little tape recorders we'd carry on our belt, just to record the conversations with the bad guys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that was just before I left. So the whole dynamics of being a police officer have changed, where it's gotten to the point where nobody wants to be a cop anymore because they're so hand tied.
Yeah. I mean, I hear it on a regular, like, I won't mention any names, but I hear it often where, like, they want to do their job, but they can't. They can't do it,
Yeah.
depending on
Yeah.
like I'll put it this way: Portland.
Huh.
Portland could be way better if they would just allow police officers to do their jobs. I mean, there's a
Absolutely.
reason. There's a reason why there's a 15. I think it's $20,000 sign-on bonus right now. There's
Yeah.
a
Right.
reason
Yeah.
there's a sign-on bonus because they can't keep nobody,
Yeah.
which is sad because I'm pretty sure any business would love to not come into their business and have to shovel shit from the front door
Right. Yeah.
just to start the day.
Yep.
And then like the owner of our tattoo studio, that's part of the reason why he stopped doing like having a tattoo studio in Portland, was because of just all that dumb bullshit he had to deal with, and
Yeah.
nobody was willing to do anything about it.
Well, at some point there's a breaking point. I mean, the breaking point. You just look at the last presidential election.
Oh yeah.
Common sense has been voted back into office now. It's the ability to exercise it is what we're dealing with now.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I
it's the
mean,
same thing with Portland, or it's the same thing with San Francisco, or whatever. You can scale it down to the cities. I mean, at some point, the people are going to say, I'm tired of this.
yeah,
I'm tired of these people running into my store, stealing everything, and not getting prosecuted. At some point,
yeah.
there will be a change.
I mean, there has to be, or there you can't continue to go down a path of basically imploding and then expect growth.
Well,
You,
that they certainly think so here in California.
well, hopefully that's changing ever so slightly.
Not, not.
I feel like there's a shift. Um, Maybe not big shifts. I feel as those cities will always inherently be more leaning blue. But a lot of that's just ignorance, because if you live with four people paying rent and your electric and everything's included, you don't really have a concept of what real life is.
Right.
So like you walk to work. That means probably you don't have a vehicle or have to pay uh,
Auto
vehicle
insurance.
insurance, or you don't have a how much does it cost to fill up my oil, how much does it cost for electricity on a regular basis, this that. So when you don't have those concepts and you're living with five people helping split the rent, it's not a reality that most Americans live in.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So cities, I think, will inherently always be, unfortunately, far leaning left. You can notice
Well,
it
and
here
it
too.
does until their tax base evaporates.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I mean, if all the people with the money move out because they're tired of it, which is happening to New York, which has happened to San Francisco,
Yep.
at some point in time, they're going to be going to the federal government for bailouts.
Well, I heard
We've
like
seen that in
San
the past.
Francisco used to be beautiful.
Oh, absolutely.
Now it's not.
No, I haven't been there in years. I used to enjoy going over there.
I always wanted to, because I wanted to kind of like, I always heard it like the arts within San Francisco would
Right.
have been
Yeah.
awesome to see.
Yeah.
You couldn't fucking pay me enough to go there now.
One of my benefits that I had for my electrical contracting company is every year I would take the entire company to San Francisco, the Marriott over there, for New Year's. Take them. I paid for their wives, them. We spent New Year's over there, New Year's, and I got them hotel room. We'd stay there for 2 days, and not anymore. I wouldn't take anybody to San Francisco right now.
Yeah, which is sad.
Yeah.
I've heard it from a few friends too. They would prefer to go around San Francisco.
Yeah.
Okay, you've worked search, rescue, EMS, law enforcement for over 40 years.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
How has it kind of shaped your view on human nature in the world around you?
Well, I've been able to have a very in-depth view of human nature in those jobs. You see the best of the best and you see the worst of the worst. You see
Yeah.
life, birth of a baby, and I'll see death at a traffic accident.
Yeah.
There's all and everything in between. The people when I worked in the ER, okay, I worked in an ER. And you'd see the different kinds of people that would come in. I would be dealing with homeless person that you know uh, was basically couldn't do much for themselves, and I'd see minorities. I would learn about cultures. You know, when I knew sometimes more about culture and how people wanted to be treated than the actual hospital staff, because where I was there was a Muslim community,
Yeah.
and if a husband brought his wife in that needed assistance of some kind in the ER, I knew that they would rather have a woman instead of a man. And I would try and suggest to the staff, hey, you need to get a gal in here to deal with this lady because it's their cultural, I want
Yeah.
to meet their culture. So,
Respect
there's
thing
all
too.
different, there's all different kinds of things that I would see that human nature and people in their worst times and people in their bad times. And I learned a lot from that of how to deal with that.
Have you noticed a difference from, like, let's say 10 years ago, 20 years ago to now? If you,
You
what I
know,
mean by that,
yeah, well, I do, but you know what? 10, 20 years ago, life and death was still has the same impact on people as it does today.
you know,
Tragedy, trauma,
I think
tragedy and trauma.
I think it had a more profound effect back then than it does now, because we can see shit everywhere. You can literally go online and see it. You know what I mean?
All
The
right, yeah, I'll
normal.
give you that. I'll give you that. You can see all this nasty stuff on the internet, and there wasn't internet back then. So when somebody would see, say, a car crash with mangled bodies, they'd lose their minds.
Yeah.
Whereas today, through video games and everything else, we've been desensitized to that kind of a thing. Oh,
Yeah.
that would be my read on that.
Yeah. I concur with that. Um, yeah, I mean, fuck, you could open up Facebook and bam, all of a sudden you're seeing a head-on collision. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
before you'd have to, I mean, even then though, like, an accident, you either got one to two different types of people. You got people that fucking bring their phone out, record it now, or you got
Right. Right.
the ones that want to help,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I'm a firm believer. I think everybody should take a fucking medical course just to be the ones that help.
Yeah.
uh, but what do I know? I'm definitely not going to whip my fucking phone out.
Yeah. Me either.
um what's one of the kind of the we talk about the things of human nature that you've seen. What's a kind of a memory that you've had that kind of stuck with you? Like, it could be a good one, in
Well,
that line of work.
it's the people that you help who, I mean, that reach out and hug you and cry on your shoulder that you've come to help. They're so thankful that they just break down and hug you. That's the reason I got into this line of work. I mean, civil service, police, fire, EMS, search and rescue. All of those have a bottom line of helping people and bringing them back whole again if you can.
Yeah.
In search and rescue. I mean, let's face it. In the search and rescue community, there's a saying that any find is a good find, which means if I go looking for somebody and I find them deceased, at least their family has something to have closure with.
Yeah.
Instead of me looking for their loved one and can't find them, and nobody ever finds them, and they don't have any closure.
Yeah.
So any find is a good find, but helping people, that's that one sentence. I want to help people. When I went for my oral board at the police department, got me hired,
Yeah.
and that has been my mission ever since, is to help people. And I've learned all these skills to make that a reality.
tools,
Yeah.
tool in your toolbox. Looking kind of back on your, like the 40 plus years of experience. Do you have any pivotal moments that really kind of shaped you kind of into who you are today? A couple maybe that stuck out.
Well, probably witnessing my first homicide got me primed. Can I use that word for this kind of a job that I want to take on?
No.
It wasn't pretty. It was and I was only 19 at the time, when that happened. And but the other pivotal moment was, once again, it was helping somebody. It was a simple burglary of a home, but it was an elderly couple. And the moron that broke into this person's house who lived on the other side of the fence. He jumped over the fence, landed in their flower bed full of mud, tracked the mud into the house that he was burglarizing, came back out, stepped in the mud again, muddy footprints over the fence and back into his house. But we solved that, and the family was just ecstatic, that they could get their stuff back and so forth and so on. But and it was those things that stacked up upon one another, helping people. If you want to look at the negatives, if we went to court and we lost a court case on somebody we knew was dirty, we knew was guilty, that's kind of the backside, that you bust your ass to arrest somebody. You've got the goods, and either a jury or a judge doesn't want to prosecute or doesn't want to, gives them probation, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, probation that'll fix them.
Yeah, right.
No. Probation after you,
multiple times, not just once.
Fucking blows my mind.
Yeah,
blows my mind. Can you kind of walk us, through what a typical day might have looked like during the time of your search and rescue or law enforcement career?
Sure. I mean, my typical day when I was working at the police department, I'd be a dispatcher. And back then, we didn't have what's called CAD, computer assisted dispatch, which everybody has today. You dial 911, you pick up the phone, and the operator's immediately typing stuff into the computer that can be transferred over to the dispatcher with maps and all kinds of. Well, we didn't have any of that.
Yeah.
So I had a log, and somebody would call, and I had 3 phones in front of me. I answered the police, I answered the fire, and I answered public works, and I also dispatched to those all at the same time. So there's times where if there was an accident, on a corner or whatever, I get the phone lines would light up, and I'd have to take all the information. I'd have to get the fire department rolling, police department rolling, get all the information I can. So I have somebody that we can put into the report who reported it and so forth and so on. And, that was, and for 19-year-old, that was pretty intense.
Yeah.
That was pretty intense. I mean, there's times where I'd have somebody that would be calling and pick up the phone. Hi, this is Union City Police Department. And people would be screaming, just screaming. I couldn't understand half of what they were saying. Believe it or not, I put them on hold.
Yeah.
Count to 10, pick up the phone again. All right, how can I help you? And they calmed down to where I could understand what they were trying to tell me, So, and then when I was done with my 8-hour shift, I would go out and ride with the officers. I had the ability as like a ride along to go out with the officers, and I'd ride another 6 hours to learn. That was my goal, was to learn police work. And there's no better way to learn than be ride along.
Yeah, I think they call it like a FTO now, field training officer type deal.
Right. So I'd go out and I'd help, however I could help. I didn't have powers of arrest, but I could certainly I did booking.
Yep.
I would be used for booking, prisoners. I'd fingerprint them and all that stuff.
And then that's kind of like what shifted you. Like, you said you did that, what, 4 or 5 years?
5 years, yeah.
And then you went into the academy.
My 4th year in, I was in the academy. I went into the academy because I was starting to test
Yep.
to become a police officer.
And then basically you got kind of approved. You could be a police officer, at that point, right?
I got my certificate, which is called 832 PC in California. But I ran into the wall of affirmative action, and I was passed over, and it was 5 years as a cadet is pretty much your max.
Yeah.
You've pretty much done everything that a cadet can do. I worked evidence. I worked field support. I worked dispatch. I moved around in different departments over that 5-year span. But it got to the point where I had to fish or cut bait with my life.
Yeah. Can't blame you there. That's kind of what, when I was becoming prior to COVID, doing all that laser work to become a police officer, and then COVID happened, and now
Right.
you gotta wait. Like, you gotta wait to go into the academy, and everybody's kind of getting pushed behind. I'm like, well, I'm not waiting. I just spent 1.5 years of fucking torture. I'm not waiting two fucking years. So we'll pivot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which I think, honestly, was a blessing in disguise, because even all my friends said that our police officers are like, yeah, you're not missing nothing.
Yeah.
Like, right now is not the time. And it was like the whole defund the police thing, and
Right.
just the shit show, which is sad, because I think that's the very fucking last thing we need, is to defund the police. I think, if our state and local stopped wasting our fucking taxpayers' money and actually gave it to the proper, and they could get more, I think that would, you know what I mean? So I'm excited. I hope from this whole, I know some people don't like Doge, but as far as I'm concerned, I think that needs to trickle down into the state and local level.
I think it's going to trickle down into your pocketbook. I think there's going to be, I typed on something on True Social to the president, because that's his platform.
Yeah.
And I said, once that you have found billions, if not trillions of dollars saved by Doge, how about you have a 1-year honeymoon of any monies owed to the IRS? No taxes. And if you owe money to the IRS, have it forgiven.
Yeah.
And that would be so easy.
Well, yeah,
out of all the money that they're coming up with right now,
it's going to be hard fucking pass to make people even want to pay fucking the taxes after, if we find out the end. You know what I mean? For how many years? I don't even want to know how many years they've been doing it.
Well, you noticed, if you've been watching TV or anything, you noticed that in Washington, D.C., on Google, the search engines are going berserk for lawyers. All these politicians are lawyering up because the DOJ is going to go after these people.
I hope. There needs to be accountability.
And I don't give a rat's ass what party they belong to.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't.
Red, blue, fucking green.
Fucking nail them. I don't give a rat's ass what party you belong to. Hang them.
Yeah. No, I agree fully. Like, I wouldn't even consider myself, I'm not red, blue. I'm more of a common ground type guy. So,
well, for transparency here, I'm as hard right as you can go.
Well, I have right tendencies. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
I do not have any left tendencies. So.
Okay. All right.
I would say common ground mixed with a little, we'll say red and white.
Oh, okay.
But definitely no blue.
All right.
That's for damn sure. I used to think when I was younger that I was blue. Democrat. But I think that party was different back in the day anyways. It's definitely not the same as it was, 15, 20 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, I'd even say 30 years ago. But when I was a kid, I remember like kind of not having the basic concept of politics, but I knew I leaned more towards the blue side. But I think
my father was very conservative. The rest of his family wasn't. But I remember walking precincts with my dad for Barry Goldwater.
Yeah.
We had literature that we would knock on doors and hand out, and I mean, that was in 1964, I think was when that was. So I was probably 10 years old, 9 years old, walking the precincts with my dad.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I went to a Catholic mean nun school for a little bit until my mom and dad, like I got kicked in the balls for 6 months during recess at this Catholic school by a family member, and I got to the point where I couldn't even pee, and then I beat the fuck out of them, and then I got in trouble.
Sure.
And I think it was right then and there my mother and father were like, no, this ain't the right fit for you, son. And my sister got suspended for having her bangs in front of her eyes. So I think a little shortly after that, like, it wasn't, and I always kind of stayed true to my Catholic side in a sense. Went to Bishop Erica. That was the Catholic school, and then we would go to church. But then, one day I think we just kind of stopped going. Grandma still goes. I stopped going to church the moment they passed around the hat twice. And now I just kind of have me and God have our own thing.
Yeah.
He definitely talks to me more now than he did, but in different ways.
Good.
How did you find yourself dealing? Like, how did you deal with the trauma and emotional toll that came with working that high stress, high stake environment like EMS and rescue operations?
That's a good question. I mean, it's almost like I can't answer that question. I would layer up, defense in my mind that it just never hit me. It really never really impacted me.
You had to switch.
Yeah, I did. It would be a switch. Yeah. I mean, and I've seen cops off themselves because of the stress of the job, Now they had different stresses than I may have had, but I've had stressors that they didn't have. So it's not like I'm any less stressed, when I was working at a concert, and one of my fellow employees who was in charge of some security got stabbed. And we had a doctor there. I was there, and he's down on the ground and he's not breathing. And I'm doing CPR, and we get a pulse back. Ambulance finally shows up, and they take him to the hospital, and he passed away. That hit me a little hard, because he didn't have a pulse. You got a pulse back. You say to yourself, fantastic, he's going to make it. And he gets to the hospital and dies.
Yeah.
Working in the ER, the same thing happened to me. And this was during COVID. They brought in a little 4-year-old boy who was in arrest. and we're doing CPR, and we'd get a slight faint heartbeat, and then it would go away, and we're doing it again and again and again. And it got to the point where it was strong enough that they wheeled him to X-ray, and he lost it in X-ray. He passed away. There was no getting him back. 4-year-old, and I come to find out that the parents were abusive to the child, and they were the reason that the child had heart failure.
Oh fuck.
So you have a little agony in your, you tried to save this child. You got a heartbeat back, and then lost it, and then you find out it's the parents. They both got arrested. And that's the kind of thing that jogs your mind. How could somebody do that to a child? How could somebody, whatever? But it didn't last long. I mean, and unfortunately, I think I wrote it down for you that when my father passed away, in essence, it was a blessing because he was 95 years old. He was
Yeah.
ready.
Yeah.
He was in good health. He wasn't in bad health, and he passed away in his sleep, and that was a blessing. But to this day, almost 5 years, I've yet to grieve. I've yet to grieve that loss,
Yeah.
and I attribute it to the brick wall that I have built up to defend myself from all these tragedies that I deal with or used to deal with on a daily basis. You just can't let that get into your mind, otherwise you're useless.
Yeah.
So, you know, as you're responding to these incidents, you're working in your mind, how are we going to make this work? How are we going to save this person? And
Yeah.
if we didn't save him, well, it's God's will. You know, He called him home.
Yeah. That's
So
the way I always kind of look at it. Sometimes God needs his angels quicker than we, want to give them.
yeah.
Like my
So
buddy.
that's kind of how I have dealt with it.
Yeah, I think, I'm not like even my wife knows I'm not when it comes to death, I'm different. Um it really doesn't affect me. I know my mother and father and, that will. I just don't know how it's going to. But like, well, one of my best friends who fought cancer for years. I grew up with this fucking guy. Um, During COVID, the fucking guy had just just got a newborn, killing it in his career, fixing to, buy where he's been working at for the past 15 years. And he ended up finding a lump on his hip, and they went in, found out it was a cancerous lump, and then they ended up finding like 11 or 12 more within his lungs and insides, and he fought a good hard 5 years. But that was like once the last text message, I have for my is they're draining his lungs. There's nothing else they can do. And like here, I can't even go see him. I'm like, 1,400 miles away, not to mention the COVID lockdown. So
Yeah.
you can't even go to the fucking hospital if you wanted to. Um, and I will say that affect me. That was probably the first time deaths kind of affected me in a way that it did. But other than that, it's just another day. My best friend I went to high school with. I kind of seen that coming though. He's diabetic and drinking fucking 30 racks a day. Like you can't do that and be a diabetic and expect to
Right.
live forever. So
Yeah.
I didn't. I feel shitty sometimes that I didn't feel anything whatsoever when he passed away.
Right.
But
Right.
I've seen death. I've seen death on a regular. So it's nothing to me. But
Yeah.
so I get that having that switch. Sometimes I like it. Most of the times I like it. Sometimes I don't because I feel as though I should have some sort of a.
Yeah.
So you're not wrong for not, I guess, with your dad passing, with how much shit you've seen. You're not, it'll come when it comes. That's what
Yeah. Yeah.
it'll probably be a moment that you didn't even expect, and then bam,
I think you're right.
Um, I think I've cried more over dogs dying than humans.
Yeah, me too.
Animals in general.
Yeah.
I prefer animals over most humans. Hence why I got how many?
Yeah, I've got 2 Goldens right here.
Kind of like personal growth always is big for me. Like I'm a big fan of just going inward. And after working such a demanding kind of line of work, how do you recharge? How do you take care of yourself? What's your go-to AA battery per se?
Yeah. I've always gone within and meditated and find my quiet space, tune out the chatter of the world, uh, you know, reflect upon the good of that day, always reflect upon the good, not the bad. You learn from the bad, but it's like self rewards.
Yeah.
It's as we call in the emergency management field, it's an AAR, after action report. You step back and how did they go?
Yep.
What did you do today? What did you deal with? What good became today? That kind of thing. I would do that. I would center myself and just unplug.
Is that when you kind of get in the old country music too, or?
Yeah. Well, the country music, that when I was dancing, that was a huge stress relief because I would practice 4 nights a week, dancing, and it was 2-step. It was around the dance floor. You're busting ass. You're working up a sweat. And that was a huge relief, stress relief.
Was that kind of like a unnoticed until it was noticed stress reliever?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I could tell. Well, people work out. They go to the gym. Well, this was
Yeah.
not really any different, except that I just focused on, you know, obviously dancing involves every muscle in your body.
Oh yeah, even
You
the
may
little
not be
ones.
you may not be lifting weights. You're not lifting weights, but you're still getting the movements in.
Yep.
Exercising the muscles. So
Now it's kind of like calisthenics,
yeah,
body weight.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Any other kind of like, was it when you said kind of de-stressor inward after action report? Is that kind of, so for the audience, this guy has one of the fucking dopest backyards I've ever seen in my life. In fact, one of these fucking days, I will. One of these days. Is that kind of, do you think maybe that's why you've kind of made your fucking Zen spot in your backyard? Is just now you got a you spot?
Well, in that backyard, I have a bee yard.
Yeah.
So I've had up to 14 beehives out there at one time. And that's huge. That's a
Yeah.
huge thing for me to go out and sit in my bee yard and, you know, just watch, just observe. It's like Zen. You
Yeah.
got the buzzing of the bees around you the whole time you're out there. They're not bothering me. They could care less about me. And I'm just, in fact, I bring a pair of binoculars so I can look down the rows to see the color of the pollen that they're bringing in, to see how fast they're moving, and the guard bees at the front watching, checking. That's like they check IDs. The guard bees will check the other bees because on occasion a wrong bee will come into a hive and they'll say, "No, I'm sorry, you can't come in." So uh, it's huge. I loved it. I loved sitting out there and just you know being with the bees.
Yeah.
And then I got a
Well,
swimming pool, and I got a lot of green, and I play with the dogs and swim, and that's my you know get it all out.
yep. One of your zen spot.
Yeah.
Um, and we'll kind of dive into the beekeeping because I think a lot of
Okay.
people will like that. But not quite yet.
Okay.
What with 40 plus years of experience in those high stress roles, is there any wisdom or life lessons that you've learned from that time um, that you believe are important for others to know?
Well, if I was an EMT instructor for a year, and I probably in that year's time probably had 300 students over different classes. The class would be a 3-month class, 3-month. The class would be 3 months, and I would get students, and this is college, so they're right out of high school, pretty much all of them, and they they would go through the class, and they say, I want to sign up for become a paramedic, because it was, the college offered EMT, and the college also offered the paramedic classes. But paramedic classes were thousands of dollars, and it's a 2-year program. And I said to my EMT students, I says, no, you don't want to do that. Now that you've got your EMT, you need to go out in the field, get your hands dirty, get find out what you're getting into. Because if you were to go right into paramedic school, spend thousands of dollars, 2 years of your time, you get your paramedic license, you get on an ambulance rig, you go to a vehicle collision where there's a dead baby, and that blows your mind. You can't, and you say to yourself, I'm done. I can't handle this. Well, you've wasted 2 years of your time and thousands of dollars because you were a hard charger and just wanted to go right to the top without getting your feet wet.
Yep.
So, you know, that was something that I would tell them, that this is what you got to do. Go out there and get your feet wet. Be an EMT for a year before entertaining becoming a paramedic.
Yep.
So,
That's smart.
this isn't a job for everybody.
Yeah.
And coming right out of high school, I was guessing that it was a 7-unit class. It's tough. It was a tough class. It wasn't easy. But these high school kids are looking at the college registration forms, and they see, oh, EMT 7 units. I'll get on that. When their whole desire was only to get 7 easy units instead of becoming an EMT and going out in the field and working. So, they needed to get out in the field, get their hands dirty to see if this is what they really wanted to do.
Which is fair. I mean, I feel like every job should be like that.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't, hey, I'm thinking about doing construction. Go do it for a year.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
You're gonna be a bitch for a year, but at least you'll get
You
your
are.
feet wet.
You are. Yeah.
Can you share a story where you had to overcome the immense challenge, either professionally or personally? Like a massive challenge.
Yeah. Huge challenge. Recently, we went into, my wife and I. She's in the insurance business. Okay. She's probably the best transportation insurance underwriter in the country. And she linked up with another gentleman and started their own business.
I'm not doing it.
It
would be significant.
Hang on a second.
Yep. You're all good.
And we had a business. It was growing. It was doing well. But this gentleman had other business interests as well as our business. And we needed an infusion of cash into the business. So we took. I had a home in Hayward, the home that I grew up in. I got that through inheritance. It was paid for, paid, no, nothing owed. It was, and I mortgaged that to the tune of almost $800,000 to put money into our business.
Yeah.
And right after that, my majority interest in our business holder decided to declare bankruptcy. So we were without work. We had money in the bank, but nothing, nothing substantial. And now I have two mortgages. The house I'm in here and the second or the first on that house over there. So to make it a long story short, I lost that house. I lost the house.
All because of a dickhead, essentially.
Yeah. So that was huge. I mean, that was my nest egg. If I always had a home I could live in free.
Yep.
Because it was all paid off. Because nobody knows how things go from there. My wife could get hit by a bus. I could get hit by a bus tomorrow, and we're all gone. Yep. But anyway, that was huge. So we're now. I mean, my credit went to shit. Everything went to shit. And we're back in business. We're doing well. We're coming out of a deep hole. We're very optimistic, but that was huge. That was, and my wife being the catalyst for the whole thing. I mean, I supported her. She supports me. We're a team, and in fact, here's a funny thing that my wife and I, in our marriage of 25 years, have almost spent every day side by side.
Yeah.
I mean, I would go to work when I had the construction company. She worked from home. But, we've always been side by side wherever we go. And people can't understand how you could live with your wife day in and day out, 24/7. So, she felt the worst because this was her venture. I just supported her in that. And, and she's blaming herself for losing the house and all this and that. And I'm going, hey, we've been through tough times before.
Yeah.
When I was in the construction business, we'd have low times and, but I said, yeah, it's a house, but it's stuff. Did anybody die? Yeah. See the shirt? Don't get dead.
Yeah, right.
Did anybody die? No. We will make it. No doubt in my mind, we will make it. And we're headed back up, the hill to the prosperity we were familiar with. So
it's the hill you got to climb.
Yeah. So that was it. I mean, that's probably the biggest hurdle in my life that I've had to climb over.
It'll get better too.
Oh, absolutely.
And maybe one day you'll get to buy that home back. You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or that second house in Arizona.
There it is. Home's where you make it, right?
That's right.
Well, it's like I bought a camper. I didn't just buy it because my body needed, a way. I needed a place to go in the woods to just get the fuck away. I also bought it kind of a secondary. Let's say something crazy happens, the house burned down, and at least we got something we can sleep in that's warm.
Yeah.
I'm always looking at that type of shit too, because you just never
know. Right. Yeah.
Or a tree falls on the roof, and then you're screwed. Where are you gonna stay? You're spending either $250 a night at a hotel. Like, I'd prefer not to.
Yeah.
Even though, yeah, it's nice to have all those amenities, but
Yeah,
it'd be easy to get into a hole real quick if you had to do that, especially if you
absolutely.
just lost everything.
Yeah.
Um, in your career, you've probably experienced some high pressure situations, not only like from your personal life, now, but in career life. Um, you said you have like that switch. Do you consider yourself like always calm in those types of moments, or is there's moments of like, whoo,
Yeah,
butthole pucker?
no, you know, I've always been able to be calm because I come to realize that if I wasn't calm, I would be putting myself into jeopardy. I wouldn't be thinking logically, which
Yep,
could get me into a situation that could get me killed.
yep,
So, that's where I have come from. I've always been able to get rid of the tunnel vision, but look at everything on a whole. What are we dealing with here? What's going on? How can I help? How can I stay away from, because in my EMT training, I went through uh, casualty under active shooter, where I would go in and get casualties during an active shooter situation. And I'll tell you what, that'll open up your eyes,
yep.
because you know you're putting yourself in a situation where you could get yourself killed. We try not to. You try
Yeah.
not to. You got hot zones, warm zones, cold zones, but you know, an active shooter is a fluid situation where your
Yeah.
warm zone could all of a sudden become a hot zone.
Oh, quickly.
Yeah. So but the probably the one of the most stressful times. Let's get back to the police department, where it's a long story, but I'll make it short. The chief of police that signed my uh, hiring papers uh, was assassinated in a church during civil unrest. And I happened to be at the police department that night. I was going to be a ride along, and uh, that occurred. So I went right into dispatch because I was a dispatcher, and it was all fucking hands on deck that night.
Mm-hmm.
And me dealing with the press on the phone at the press was just rabid dogs wanting to know information. I had a TV newscaster on the phone tell me that if I didn't give him all the information he wanted, he was going to make my chief look bad. Well,
Wow.
what you can't say, well, fuck off, asshole, because you're working
Trying
for a police
to
department.
maintain professionalism. Yeah.
Yeah, but that night was probably the highest stress factor of my career at the police department where I worked.
Did they get them?
Eventually, and it took a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, the FBI was involved, and all kinds of other agencies were involved.
A bunch of 3 letters.
Yeah.
I wonder. I mean, that's probably a very in depth. I wonder what happened, what got him to that
Yeah.
point. It's
It's a
fucking
long
crazy.
story.
It's crazy.
It is. It was.
What's kind of one thing you wish more people would understand about the work of search and rescue, EMS, law enforcement? If you're there
I don't.
from.
I I don't think that the people understand the mentality of us trying to help them. They don't understand what we take home at night. Even though I've built up my walls, others haven't. And the physical. I mean, I never worked in ambulance, but I know that ambulance drivers, paramedics, EMTs, it's so stressful on their backs, lifting patients, lifting gurneys, lifting things, that you know, it destroys them.
No.
It just destroys their backs. And the general public doesn't see that. The general public sees somebody rolling up, somebody grabbing somebody, throwing him in the back of an ambulance and taking off. They don't know what we do, from the beginning to into the ambulance, on the way to the hospital, reports, radio reports, blood tests, all the other things that go on. They don't understand that. We're just a public servant to them.
No.
They don't see the backside. I mean, you've got some TV program like 24 hours or whatever, and there's you see your TV stuff, but there's no real, watching it on TV is different than experiencing it in your backyard or your house.
Yeah. That's just like that's why I miss. I think it was called Live PD.
Yeah.
I missed that one. Always thought they should do the same thing for like EMS and just to get it, get the different perspectives of it out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Firemen, all of that jazz, and like I think a lot of civilians nowadays they just they forget that it's not law enforcement civilian, it's not fireman civilian or EMS civilian, it's civilian.
Yeah.
You guys are still ultimately fucking human.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the schooling, the school, the classes, everything that we go through to get there, to be able to help them. Yeah. They don't see any of that. They don't understand any of that. Yeah. I need to walk away for just a second. Can we do that now?
Yeah, we can pause, man. We'll come back. We'll be back I'll be back in a moment. I'll tell you what, though, I had letting the dogs out. I'm like, the wind is a howling here today. So
it
is obnoxiously cold out.
Yeah.
That's the wood pellet stove ain't keeping up.
Yep.
But I mean, didn't I hear, didn't Cali get snow?
I mean, we get it in the Sierras.
Yeah. You just don't now by you.
No, not down by me. No, I'm on the valley floor. We don't get hardly any snow ever.
Yeah, you're jealous.
If it does, it doesn't stick. It's
a light dusting.
Yeah.
Gone in 10 minutes.
Yeah, right. Yeah. We'd run around as kids. When I lived in Hayward, once in a while there would be a snow flurry that would come through the Bay Area, right? All that we were able to do is run around to the cars and scrape the ice and snow off of the cars because it didn't melt, and make snowballs and throw at each other until it was all gone.
Yeah. I don't like it. The older I get, the more I fucking hate it. And I don't know why it'd be different if I had like a heated fucking driveway or a heated,
what
I mean? I didn't have to shovel shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't like being out in it anymore. Like, I just don't.
Yeah.
There's nothing fun about it. I remember when I was a kid, I would be out in it for hours, purple lips, just not caring.
Uh-huh.
And I think that all changed 2015. I'm like, I don't like winter, but then I keep moving to winter places, which makes no sense.
Yeah, brilliant, huh?
Right. But I wouldn't have met my wife if I didn't move to Maine.
Yeah, I know.
So there's always a reason. Faith, spirituality, all of that jazz. You went to a Catholic school too, right?
Yeah, I went to a Catholic high school.
Did you have the mean nuns and shit too? The hand beaters?
No, it was a Catholic school for brothers.
Okay.
There was a couple of nuns here and there, but most of them were brothers.
Gotcha.
So yeah,
that would have been nice.
My year, my first year there, my freshman year was the first year that they allowed girls. It was an all boys school up until when I came along. So the girls had uniforms, and the guys didn't have to have uniforms. So I remember you saying something about your sister having her bangs over her eyes. Well, here it was how short the skirt could be above the knees.
Yep.
So there was
We had that too.
One nun that would have a ruler, and she'd measure these girls' skirts, and they could get sent home if they were over a certain number of inches above the knee.
All of our nuns had rulers, and they didn't just use it for measurements.
Yeah.
Oh man, were they tough bitches.
Yeah.
I mean that in the most genuine, that word in the most genuine
Loving,
way possible.
the most loving way, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Has your faith or journey, kind of spiritual journey over the years, the experiences you've had, what is that shaped it the most? Has there been a moment in time that kind of just...
Well, I've always been a positive minded kind of guy. And I've explained some of this to you in our questionnaire, but I have known things before they've happened, kind of a thing, where I believe something was going to happen to me, and it did. Well, in my spiritual training, believing experiences, it's always been that way for me, where God only says yes. God only says yes. And what you say all day long is your, for lack of better terms, your prayer.
Yeah.
To yourself. There's a thing that we call mental equivalence. If you walk around for a week and say, I'm sick and tired of this guy, I'm sick and tired of that person, I'm sick and tired of this car, I'm sick and tired of, guess what? You're going to get sick and you're going to get tired.
Yeah.
Because I, and everything you put after I, is an affirmation that God only says yes.
Speak it into existence.
That's correct. How many times have you been in the kitchen dicing and you cut your finger, nicked your finger, and you said, I knew I was going to do that? Guess what?
I do it all the time. Because...
Well, okay, but you know it, huh? Do you expect it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. But that applies to every aspect in your life, be it health, be it wealth, be it, whatever it may be. It applies to your entire life. So that is how I focus and meditate and look at, and that's probably why I've gotten through all the shit in my life without repercussions, because I know how I can flush that and fill it back up with what I want in life.
Yeah.
Obviously, we hit potholes, but it's the ability to recover from those potholes that makes your life successful.
Yeah.
And that's
I'm a firm believer, when you talk about, you kind of like speaking into existence, I'm also a firm believer, like, you focusing on something makes it happen even quicker. So like,
right.
And what I mean by that is like, if you think you're going to get in trouble, or if you think you're going to have like a medical issue, 90% of the times it winds up happening.
Right. An example. Well, it's you have to have the consciousness of whatever it is you want, whether it's by choice or just because you say stupid things all the time. It's still going to attract to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give you an example. Joe wants to be a millionaire, so he's going to play the lottery. Joe becomes a millionaire. Okay, so Joe has achieved what he had in his mind to become a millionaire. But unfortunately, the $500 million that he won, in 2 years' time, it's gone
Yeah.
because he's pissed it away. Right?
Yeah.
He didn't have the consciousness of how to be a millionaire.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
I have the game plan all laid out. The family trust, everything that I would, because at my age, there's not a whole lot I'm going to do with $1 billion or $500 million except pass it on to my kids.
Yeah.
But I plan to donate a lot of money to a lot of causes.
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas the person that played the lottery ticket with, on Friday to be a millionaire, yeah, he gets to be a millionaire, but he doesn't know what to do with it. He's got no plan. He's got nothing. He's got relatives pigging him all the time to loan me this, loan me that, loan me this, loan me, invest in this, invest in that, invest in that. Next thing he knows, he ain't got nothing.
Yeah.
So there's the difference. You can demonstrate something, but if you don't have the knowledge to make it all work, you'll lose it.
Well,
Does that make sense to you?
No, 100%. Because like just recently, like I've been dealing with that brain thing that I've had for probably a year, probably longer than that. And I, 8 or 9 months ago, I had a seizure, which they ended up calling it a focal seizure, which everybody can have, I guess. You just have to hit your threshold. And my whole concept behind that was to not percolate on it, not, don't go down the rabbit hole of focusing so much. My whole concept was, all right, I'm going to put it on the backside. I'm not going to focus on it, and whatever happens, happens.
Okay.
Now I've shifted life and I've done things in my life a little different to kind of make me healthier, happier. Started with a diet. Stopped drinking as much. Stopped drinking hard liquor. And if I do drink, it's wine. I didn't quit smoking because that's like my only crutch. Like I enjoy smoking cigarette, and I know I ultimately do need to quit, but I know if I was to quit just cold turkey, I'd be as stressed as I ever was, which isn't going to help me physically wise. Well, I went to the doc. She gave me a clean. There's nothing hiding. There's no more meds that I need to take. There's no restrictions. And I atone it to not thinking too much about it.
Right.
I feel like, I emotionally got myself to the point where if something bad happens, then I'm going to make decisions to shift life completely. But I'm not going to preemptive strike make those decisions. So I'm not going to think about making those decisions yet.
Right.
And I atone a lot to their, she did find the 2 TBIs that I do have, and she definitely comforted me on, because I feel like 20 years ago, 20 years ago, I was far more intelligent. But my TBIs make me to where it's there, but I can't articulate it.
Yeah.
And that's normal. I told her, I was like, I call them my TBI moments. And she's like, well, you're always going to have those now.
Sure.
You're not
Okay.
losing intelligence. You're going to have moments of it's there, but you can't get it out. And then I was telling her, like, I don't watch normal TV. I think I stopped watching normal fucking TV in 2012. I think it was when Obama's second run. And I seen the propaganda and I seen the bullshit, and I'm like, I'm done. Like, I'm there. There's a reason why they call it a program.
Yeah.
So I stopped watching any sort of TV, like mainstream TV. Like, I'd watch movies like it's going out of fucking style, but that's kind of but that's my getaway from my
Okay.
imagination getaway.
Yeah.
But other than that, I do my own research. Like I look up my own shit. I look up, okay, that doesn't feel right. I'm going to get into it and try to pull strings and see where that string takes me.
Right.
And I do that with every fucking thing, like whether it be learning how to fix my heater or how to fix my fucking dryer instead of going and buying, throwing this one away and going to buy a new one. How do I fix the one I
Right.
have?
Yeah.
Which has helped my brain, I guess, stay in the process of that learning, being able to learn things quickly.
Okay.
I can't articulate it quickly, but I can learn it quickly.
Right. There you go.
So I atone a lot of that getting the hey, you don't have to take no more meds, no, none of this crazy shit, to what you basically said, speaking it into existence. For me, it
Right.
was neglecting it out of existence.
Okay.
Which is kind of the same thing, but just in a
Well,
different.
I call it a release. I
Yeah.
no longer need this in my life. I release it
Yeah.
in a beautiful, happy, and harmonious way, and I move on to what I want.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, like, do you think that's part of your faith or part of your spiritually?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It is. I mean, it's a principle that I've used for almost 50 years. Like I said, I have encountered some rough times, and I've used that to get me out, where other people would crash and burn.
Just implode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you, in that journey, have you kind of faced a moment of doubt or questioning your faith? And how did you
No.
kind of never?
Nope. Nope.
Awesome. That's tough to do all upon itself.
Yeah.
Because I've definitely had moments where I'm like, I mean, I've always believed in God. There's just moments where I thought I hated him. And that was me.
Like I said, my
Wasn't
theory
him.
is God always says yes. So if you dwell on something negative, he's going to say, okay, it's yours.
Yeah.
If you dwell on whatever it is, God will say, okay, it's yours.
Yeah.
Everything, and this is, and I use this sentence and people immediately don't understand it, but we live in a perfect world and everything in your life is perfect. Be it a perfect cold, be it a perfect flu, be it a perfect bank account, be it a perfect relationship. Everything in your life is perfect. It's your choice as to what you want to dwell on in your life, what you want to focus on in your life. If something bad comes along, I say, thank you, God. I no longer need this in my life. I've learned from it and I release it. Gone. Gone. And I fill that void with what I want to focus on. And for the most part, that works.
Yeah.
I dealt with a tragedy today. I don't need to harbor that tragedy in my mind.
Yeah.
I release it. I let it go.
Because it doesn't benefit you. I mean, it benefits you for the moment you need it to.
Right.
Be experience but delving into it for days upon fucking days ain't going to help you any sort of bit.
Correct.
Like this cold. This
fucking flu. There you go.
This flu has been a brute. And I knew it too. I'm like, well, here comes a couple days. Let's get used to it. Is there a specific experience or moment that made your faith feel especially real and powerful to you? Like that intuition you talk about. I knew this was going to happen. Or
yeah, I mean my success in my business, when I bought the company, that was probably a pinnacle of my, wanting to get better, to get better, to get better, to get better. And that came out of the blue. that wasn't something I was fostering. It came out of the blue, and that changed my life financially and everything else.
Or was it just kind of fell on your lap?
Well, I knew,
Bam, all of a
obviously, I
sudden.
knew the owner. He's the one that hired me at a young age to be an apprentice electrician, and you still stay in touch with these people. Yeah, I never burn any bridges, and he said, I'm getting to the age where I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Are you interested in maybe buying the company? And I said, yeah. I mean, I'd worked there. I knew the customers. I was familiar with it obviously for many years. And we worked out a payment deal. It wasn't he needed everything up front. He took payments,
Gotcha.
and then I took it over, and that changed my whole life.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had up to 18 electricians working for me at one time.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's kick ass. You still own it?
It is. No, I sold it.
Sold it.
I sold it. When I moved, I had to sell it.
Do you consider yourself, are you semi-retired now, or?
No, I still work 5 days a week with my wife.
So you guys teamwork on this new thing?
Yeah, but she's the boss. She's been in the business for 35 years, and I'm not anywhere schooled in the insurance trades as she is. So, I'm the apprentice, and she's the journeyman.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's like my wife works from home, and I do this from home now. But like I've got a tattoo down in Scarborough, which is 45 minutes away. But me and my wife are pretty much the same, just like you and your wife, like side by side.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't think there's a moment. I mean, she's my best friend, so I don't think there's a moment where we're not. And if she's going to have girlfriend trip, that's different. But at the end of the day, we're still
simpatico.
Right
there.
Yeah. And I wouldn't want it any other way. Even when we're pissy at each other, you know what I mean? I still love her to death. We just get a little bit more quiet.
Yeah, that's right.
Beekeeping, man, we got to get into that.
All right.
When did you start it? What made you want to start it?
I started 15 years ago, and I saw, I don't know if it was a documentary or what, on beekeeping. And it was a basic beekeeping thing. It showed you the basics. It showed you how to get started and how do you get the bees and so forth and so on. And I'm looking in my backyard, which at that point in time was wide open. My backyard wasn't finished. It was just a lot.
I've watched that entire journey, by the way, when you posted it up. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I said, you know what? I got room to do that. So I said, I'm going to give that a shot. It looks interesting. Bees are important.
Very.
Especially, I only live a couple of blocks. I mean, I'm in a rural area. I'm surrounded by orchards, almond orchards, and walnut orchards and things like that. So I thought, I'm going to give that a try. So I fenced off a little part of my backyard in the far corner, and a lot of people have a mentor. I mean, I have mentored other people. I mean, we love to mentor other people, love to bring people into this trade, into this hobby. But I didn't, I was just on my own. So I read about it, watched the videos and so forth and so on. And I did it. I bought the bees. I went out there and put them in the box, and we're rocking and rolling, and I got some good honey the first year, at the end of the first year. And I said, you know what? I got room for more. And, I added like 5 more, and then I had up to 14 beehives out there, and
Now,
it was
you say you mentor people. Do you do that like be it visual or you do it online?
no. It's local people.
Local.
I will give somebody one of my hives. All right, this is your
Okay.
hive. You work it. You keep, you need, and I teach you how to work it and what you need to do. And the honey is yours. If you pull honey, I've got honey spinners that I, to get the honey from. And no, I'll mentor somebody if they want to learn.
Okay.
And then if they want to do it in their own yard, I says, okay, we can pick this thing up, in the middle of the night and move it to your yard, whatever. I mean, I've got right now, I think, because wintertime is hard on bees. A lot of beehives don't make it through the winter. I think I've got one out there, but I don't like to open it up because it's so cold. It'll put a chill on them. So I leave it closed. But right now I have 3 beehives that are in a wall or in some place that they want me to come and get. So right now in April, I'll have 3 places to go to pull the hives. One of them's underneath somebody's tough shed. We're going to cut open the floorboard and lift it up and take the bees out. But so I'll have 3 hives at the end of April, not including swarms. People will call me and say, "Hey, there's a swarm in the tree over here. You want these?" I says, "Absolutely. I'll go get the swarm. I'll pick up the swarm."
Well, these are all bumblebees, right?
Oh, they're honeybees.
Honeybees. That's what I meant. Is it true that they vibrate and that's how they fly?
Vibrate?
Yeah, the wings vibration.
Oh, they got wings.
Okay.
They got wings. They flap their wings to fly.
I always heard that, and I'm like,
No,
that don't sound right.
Yeah.
Would you consider that West Coast honey different than that East Coast honey?
It is, only because of where they get their pollen from, the different kind of plants. So out in the East Coast, there's a lot of plants that flower out there that aren't here on the West Coast, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So, the color of the honey will be different as opposed to where they got their pollen from. So, yeah.
I wonder if Canadians' honey is just nicer.
No, it's from Canada.
I don't taste anything different than freaking maple syrup, so I think
okay.
Shit on that one. Oh man. Bees. Like, what's some cool facts about bees that maybe the audience don't know?
Well, wherever bees are that people encounter, the bees are not aggressive. The bees could care less about you. The only time that the bees get aggressive is if you start swatting at them, giving them a reason to get pissed off at you. So the bees in your backyard going flower to flower, they're not going to bother anybody. They could care less.
Yeah.
In fact, I sent you a video of a swarm recovery, where I'm in a cloud of bees. A cloud of bees all around me. They could care less about me. All they wanted to do was get to the queen, who was up in the tree.
Let's see if I got that. Did you send that to my email?
No, it went to your text. And it's the very first one at the top of your text. It's a 3-minute video.
Well, I think I might have. Couldn't prove by playing this video. I think I might have sent it to my email.
Yard ready, and I have a swarm that has swarmed through my yard and across.
Yep, we're playing it.
And it looks like they want to cluster right here.
See if I can share it with you.
I'll pull it over here. See, they're all getting ready to cluster right here. And if you look out here, I've got a bazillion bees flying around. So I need them to get over here to cluster, and then I'll recover them. I'll add them to my bee yard, and it saves me $100 for bees.
I think it's this one, isn't it?
Keep you posted. Yeah, there you go. Here's the update, they've moved to a redwood tree where they are now really starting to cluster. So this
Man, that's a big NA.
is the cluster.
That's got to be.
And
We're back on track.
cut this limb.
Yeah.
You
good?
Recover these bees.
Good.
Just take a look.
All right.
Right here.
So I think you were at basically
know that these bees do not care about
the
me.
spiritual side of the bees.
You don't need to be afraid of
Yeah, the spiritual side, you know,
all that they're doing is providing
I'm there to take care of the bees. I'm there to foster the bees. I'm there to feed the
Now you
bees
can
if they
really
need to
see
be
the
fed
cluster
extra,
for
those
me.
kinds of things. And like I said, the bees
They
will
will all just get together.
know my scent because I go out there and you know, so they know that I'm not a threat. I'm, you know, so I've never been attacked by the bees. The only time I've ever been stung is when I've accidentally harmed a bee, you know, because I didn't know it was there. So,
Yeah.
but that's not to say that it doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen in my world.
Here we go.
No, you don't allow it. But basically, you set yourself up for success.
Right, yeah.
In a sense.
Somewhere in the middle of that is the queen.
I hope.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this.
I hope that recorded that
it into a bucket.
video. If not, I'll add it to the video. It's no big deal.
Sure, yeah, you can, yeah.
That I have here, which is going to be their new home.
You ever had a moment while beekeeping that profoundly changed how you see nature itself?
The thing about bees is there are so many tasks that they do from birth till death. It just stuns and amazes me how I don't know how God tells them what they need to do. I mean, as soon as a bee is born, it comes out of its cell. It immediately becomes a house cleaner. And then it becomes a nurse bee. And then it becomes, you know, there's so many tasks. Building comb, sealing the cracks with propolis, you know. So the very last job of a bee is going to the flowers. What the hell was that?
I have no idea.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I see that. I have no idea what that was.
Was there a party I wasn't invited to? What the fuck?
Not on my end.
Okay, well, I don't know how it came through on my end. Anyway.
Well, maybe that was God watching right there.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so. Yeah.
Synchronicities.
Forgot what the fuck I was saying. What was I saying?
When a bee comes out.
Oh yeah,
It's a house cleaner. It turns into
The last thing a bee does in its life is it goes to the flowers. After the flower thing, they die. They're ready to die. So I bet you didn't know that.
I didn't.
The last job that a bee has is to go out and forage for pollen and nectar. And all of the bees that you see in your flowers are female. The only male bees in the hive are the drones. And their only role in life is to mate with the queen and eat.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah. And then come September, when it's time to start gearing up for winter, they throw the drones out. They kick them out.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, eat shit and die. They go away.
So that's kind of like, it's like one of my favorite animals is the octopus, the male octopus specifically, because when the woman octopus wants to, you know, the male octopus will it'll rip its dick off and throw it at her. It's the best.
Yeah.
Go fuck yourself I've ever heard in my entire life.
That's right. Yeah.
Because he knows better. The moment he did, right. I guaranteed he'd be dead.
Yep.
Oh man. So bees have a like intricate social structure, then you would say, right?
Absolutely. It's huge. It's crazy. It's, you know, to try and pinpoint it all is, I mean, yeah. When the queen in the hive is becoming weak, they will create a new queen or two or three.
And then,
How do you think that differs from society? You think it's similar,
well, it's
structure-wise?
structure-wise, it would be more of a socialistic
What?
government, because it's all for one and one for all. I mean, there's the only hierarchy is the queen, and that's only because she lays eggs.
Yeah.
You know, she gets fed where the others feed themselves. But everybody is there to support the queen, who in turn lays eggs that keeps the population going. I mean, in the middle of summer, each hive has got over 100,000 bees in it. So she's pretty busy.
I'd say very busy.
Yeah. Yep.
What's the most challenging part about keeping a hive healthy, and how do you handle setbacks? Like,
it's disease, and probably here in California, the most prevalent. It's not a disease; it's a mite. It's called the Varroa mite, and they will weaken a hive to the point where the hive dies out, or the colony, I should say, the colony will leave. There's mites there, and it's killing them, so they'll swarm, they'll leave, they'll go somewhere else. They'll probably take mites with them,
and then
that's
yeah.
Yeah. So that's the hardest thing for me. It contributes to colony collapse disorder. So we're trying to find ways to get around it. Some scientists have created strains of queens that lay and raise bees that are resistant to mites, but we haven't eradicated them. So for the time being, they're always going to be. There's a lot of treatments with chemicals and natural things that can help. I try and stay away from the chemicals if I can.
That's fair.
So yeah.
That's got to be. Have you ever had that issue yet?
Oh yeah, I have. Yeah, it's hard to get away from.
I wonder what. Is it just a bee thing that these fucking mites do, or is it?
Yeah. It's only bees.
It's almost like they're the bees are Batman, and then the freaking mites are Joker. It's just always going to be there.
Yep.
Type deal. That sucks.
It does.
Have you lost? You call it colony collapse? Is that what it's called?
Colony collapse disorder. Yeah.
Have you lost a colony before?
Oh, many.
Oh fuck! How'd that hit you? How did that hit you internally for all that effort?
It's a two-way street. It's a two-way street. Being, if I lose a colony to whatever it may be, I still have a ton of honey left behind.
Yeah.
So, it's
100%.
And I sell the honey.
Do you?
Yeah. So, I recoup any expenses I have. I mean, when I go out and collect a swarm, I don't have much of an expense at all. I'm not buying bees, and I've already got all the hive equipment. So, I lose a colony, it happens. It just, but I've got all the honey, so I'm going to sell the honey. So it's a two-way street. It's, I do all I can to stop it from happening, but bees obviously have a mind of their own. They may leave just because they think they found a better spot. Who knows? That's all part of the bee world.
So you kind of try to make it the best spot they can have,
right?
As much as you can.
Yeah.
Do you sell that honey locally, or do you do it online, or?
No, I sell it locally. Only reason I don't go farther than that is because the cost of shipping would be almost as much as the cost of the honey.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, and when I worked in a hospital, all the nurses would buy it all. I mean, the minute I got it all bottled, and I think I sent you some pictures of the bottled honey, it would disappear like that.
Yeah. Shit's good.
Yeah.
Honey is good. Even though it's bee vomit, technically, right?
Oh, whatever.
It's still good vomit.
Yeah, it is. It's excellent.
Have you formed any emotional connection with your bees?
No.
No.
I mean, I'm disappointed when I lose a hive.
No.
You know, that's a disappointment, but it's, you know, it is what it is. You come to understand that. So no, I don't have any real. When I first got started, you know, I would do everything in my power to make sure a bee didn't get crushed or a bee didn't get, because you're putting boxes on and you're putting frames in and stuff, you know, but you know, you get over that real quick because she's laying 1,200 eggs a day, you know, so she'll replace that bee you accidentally crushed. Don't cry over it.
Yeah.
It's part of doing business.
Damn, that's a lot of fucking bees.
Yeah.
What came first, the egg or the bee?
Right?
I'm gonna go with the egg.
Yeah.
What's some uncommon, people probably don't know facts about bees, honeybees?
Well, like I told you, the ones that you see in your garden are all female.
Yeah.
They will travel up to 2 miles away from their hive to
Damn.
get pollen and nectar.
And for them, size-wise, that's big. I wonder what
There's
2 miles feels like to a bee. Probably 20
well,
miles.
They're not slow. They fly fast. But they, you know, each bee only makes a little teeny tiny bit of honey. But when you got 100,000 bees in a colony in the summer, in middle of summer, that works pretty quick, you know.
Have your animals kind of become one with it, that, you know, them being around the house?
Yeah, my Goldens, they tend to ignore them. If the bee buzzes around one of the dogs, they'll try and snap at it, but that only happens every once in a while because they get stung. But no, they don't. The bees don't bother the dogs because I got a fence around the bee yard, so the bees won't think that they're a threat to their hive. But yeah, the dogs ignore the bees pretty much.
That's cool.
One thing I can say is, if you like honey, only go to a farmer's market or a beekeeper to get your honey. The stuff that you find in stores, I just posted something on my Facebook page about adulterated honey. These other foreign countries will put sucrose and other things in your honey. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, here we go. Turkey is making adulterated honey. Turkish fake honey production on the rise. So the only way that you're going to get around that is just to go to the farmer's market and get your honey. Go to a beekeeper and get your honey. Don't go to the store because it's going to be watered down. It's not going to be, you know, have all the nutrients. When you get honey in like the jars that I have a little squeeze bottle. It's a bear. Yep. If the honey gets crystallized and hard, don't put it in the microwave. That kills all of the good stuff in the honey.
Okay.
I set my bottle out in the sun, out in the backyard. The sun, or you can put it in hot water, boiling water or whatever, to thin it back up again. You know, but don't put it in the microwave. That'll hurt all the good proteins and other things in it.
So, I mean, crystally, is it true too? Honey never goes bad.
It is. That's true.
It could be fucking 1,000 years and still be good as long as you.
Yep.
That's cool.
As long as it's sealed.
Wonder why that is.
Because the enzymes in the honey don't or are unable to be
what's the word I'm looking for? Infected by mold or other things.
We need those in us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the joint pains and bones and lungs
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
kidneys. Like this flu, the first time I felt my kidneys hurt. I never
Oh
knew.
wow. Yeah.
I never knew the flu could affect kidneys until this
yeah.
time. But boy, oh boy. Hope I never have that one again.
Yeah.
We're gonna got a little legacy and impact, you know. On and if anyone wants to find, you have a website too, right? For
I do.
okay, so that would be
Beewhisperer360.com.
and they can hit
So
you
I post
up.
on my website about bees, all kinds of things about bees, everything from the beginner to the most seasoned beekeeper. There's information there for everybody.
That's cool. Because I know a lot of
Yeah,
people.
beewhisperer360.com.
I know a lot of people are interested in beekeeping and all that jazz. So they want to find you. It's a good way to find them. I'll put it also in the video. That way it just pops up.
Okay. Yeah.
Also, I do have I'll put the link in the description as well.
Okay.
That way people can just go to it. Looking back, you know, you're at the age where you're solidifying your legacy, right? With the professions you've worked in, did you foresee that being a part of your legacy? I know you don't personally have children, you have stepchildren, but at the end of the day, you treat them as your children.
I
right?
consider them mine. Yeah.
Yeah. What's legacy mean to you?
Well, legacy to me is the entrepreneurial spirit that I've had from my from my juvenile days of wanting a skateboard to wanting other things that parents couldn't afford. I went out and got a job one way or another to achieve what I wanted. So that was the entrepreneurial spirit. And then when I got into civil service, you know, helping people, always, you know, and it isn't just me hands-on helping somebody in the middle of a trauma or saving a life. It's also being there to listen, being there to talk, being, you know, somebody that somebody feels comfortable talking to when they have a problem. You know, that's huge that people can, you know, I mean, I've been a counselor. I've been, you know, I've done all those things that I just want to be known as a guy that contributed to the community, that made the community a better place. That's my goal, is to be loved, to be respected, to be honored, whatever, for doing all the things that I have done for other people without expecting anything in return.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that expect other things in return nowadays.
Yeah.
I mean, entitlement, that's a big fucking thing.
Yeah.
That's probably got to bite your ass to see where the world's at right now.
It does, but I don't consider it part of my world.
No.
You know? It just, you know, it doesn't. It just...
I fight every day trying not to be angry, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, I break the day into the 16ths, or, you know. It's just struggle when there's just people believe in so much lies yet don't do their own research.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
that, I think, I would say frustrating, but I think it's more sadness to me that someone will take a Facebook post and, oh, that's true, or oh,
Right.
MSNBC said it, so it's got to be real.
Right. Yeah.
Instead of just going,
They let other people do the thinking for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's sad.
Yeah.
Have there been any mentors or role models that shaped your career or approach of life? I mean, obviously your parents probably played a big role.
My parents, my parents were huge. They were strict, my father was frugal with his money.
It's not a bad thing.
And no, it wasn't. But and to me, growing up, it didn't impact me. We didn't eat steaks every night. We didn't go out to eat. We didn't, but it all made sense at the end when he passed away with over $1 million in the bank.
Yeah.
So, and I never knew that until I was the executor of his will.
Yeah.
So then it all made sense. He could have had anything he wanted after he retired because he had the sense to invest and save.
Yeah. What advice would you give the younger generations in that?
My dad said, get a good education or you'll end up digging a ditch.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would tell people of today that if you have a dream, follow it. If you're convicted in it, don't let anybody talk you out of it.
Yep.
I mean, but you have to have conviction. You have to say, yeah, this is what I want to be. This is what I want to do. And everybody, I don't care what color, race, or creed you are, you have an opportunity to make that happen. Don't come to me and say, well, whatever. It wasn't easy for me.
Yeah.
None of it was easy for me. If it's easy, then you don't appreciate it.
No.
If it's easy, then you expect it's an entitlement. So you got to put the hard work in to be able to enjoy what you've done and be proud of what you've done. I mean, being in the electrical contracting business, when we got done building a big building, I walked away from that and says, you know what? I built that. I'm proud of that. Then that building's going to be there till the day I die, if not longer. So there is pride in what you do and but everybody and anybody can get there. I don't want to hear excuses. Give me answers. You tell me why you can't, and I'll tell you why you can.
Yeah. I think a big thing too, like if you're good at something, you gotta do it.
Yeah.
It to a point. Like, yeah, if you're good at killing people, you probably shouldn't do that. Like if that's what you did, let's say in the military career and you were good at it, maybe try to find something else.
Yeah.
But that's that's art.
Yeah.
I never in a million years thought I'd be a freaking tattoo artist, but God's got a funny way of going about things,
Yeah.
Have fun with it. It's rewarding. It has moments of reward. The people. It's all about the people for me.
Yeah, it is.
If you could go back in your life and change one thing, be it either career or life, would you? Or do you believe everything happens for a reason?
No, I wouldn't change anything. I don't believe in do-overs in life.
You know, you've been through what you've been through to get to where you are today, and you've learned what you've learned that got you here where you are today. So I wouldn't change anything in my life. I mean,
well.
you say, yeah, I want to do that or change this, or I would have changed that one thing. Then it spins your mind into where would I be if I wasn't here today? Where, you know, that's just a web I don't want to get into.
Yeah.
Because it opens up a can of what ifs, you know, all for how many years? You know, no,
Yeah.
I'm here where I'm at for a reason.
That is true. Very true.
Yes. I mean, to answer your question, yeah, take me back 20, 30 years and I would have bought $10,000 worth of Apple stock.
Or Bitcoin when it was cheap.
Whatever.
Yeah.
See? So no, it's just not worth going back and you know, if I could have changed any one thing, no, I don't think so. I'm happy where I'm at. With all the trials and tribulations I've been through and all the successes that I've been through, I'm happy where I'm at.
Yeah. Definitely would be nice to fucking Google stock or.
Right, yeah.
Oh boy, would that have been nice.
Yepers.
You remember? I think Bitcoin wasn't it like $13 a coin? Something stupid.
Oh, it was less than that.
Yeah. We have our neighbor to where we work at, where we rent from, owns a iStore, and he invested in all that shit when you should have.
Mm-hmm.
We always thought he was, secretly dealing coke, but I had to ask him. I'm like, how in the fuck are you buying all these nice cars randomly, whenever, however? You got like 30 vehicles, man. He's like, well, I invested in Bitcoin when you should have invested. I invested in Apple. I invested in Tesla. I invested in... I'm like, say no more. Say no more. You did good.
Yep.
You seen the future.
That's right.
I'll put it this way, though. I won't not invest on something like if I see another fucking Tesla coming or another Apple or, off the ground where the stock's price, I'm definitely going to invest.
Let me just say here that I have invested and I have Apple stock and it's give me 127% return on my money.
So worth it.
Yeah, it's worth it today.
Yeah.
If you were to put in $500,000 on that and then get 127% return, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. What I'm investing in right now is myself. So.
Okay. Sure.
We'll start with that, and then hopefully that leads to other investments.
Oh, absolutely.
But I always, at least when I'm drunk, I always buy shit for the business, not myself. Pretty fortunate.
Yeah.
With that being, I'm like, oh, thank God I bought a lighter. I bought this.
Yeah. You can't buy the company a car.
I know. For me, I'd only be able to write half of it off anyways, which is fucking annoying.
Yeah.
Even though I drive 45 minutes to work every day.
Yeah.
Which I like, though. I prefer. It gives me that buffer zone of being able to not bring my anger from the traffic to work and then not bringing my anger from the traffic home.
Right, yeah.
My shrink's like, where's this new anger coming from? I said, the fucking ride into work and the ride home.
Yeah.
Because people suck at driving. As you kind of reflect on like nearly the 7 years of your life, what's the most valuable lesson you've learned about being a human?
Do unto others as you would like them to do unto you.
Yeah.
What
Pretty-
goes around comes around.
Yeah.
And I've
Karma.
learned that. Karma. I call it karma. Yeah.
Well, man, you got anything to add? People, you got any, like, maybe we got your website, the .com.
Got the
we can
website.
put in,
I think we've covered a lot.
is there a Facebook, that you do for the beekeeping stuff?
There is. I thought I shot you a picture of it because there's more than one.
Okay.
Bee. It's the Bee Whisperer, but it's gonna have my picture. Hang on here. Let's see if I can.
If that was in my email.
Yeah, it would have been in your email.
All right.
Let's see. Here we go. If you can see that.
The Bee Whisperer. Yep, and
That's my Facebook page for bees.
I'll also post a link to that down in the description.
Okay.
That way, in case people want to find you, and it's an interesting thing.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I know.
You got bee questions? You want to be a beekeeper? I'll help you get there.
The wife's always talked about maybe doing it, but we got so many damn animals that I don't think there'd be time in the day to do it.
Okay. All right.
What kind of dogs you got?
Golden retrievers.
Oh, you got that. The lovey-dovey. What's their names?
Sierra and Gunner.
Oh, so you got a boy and a female?
Yeah.
Awesome. Which one you like the most? Both of them.
They're both different. They're both different in their styles and their loves and so forth. So
is that your go-to?
Sierra's older. She's the older one. So she's opinionated.
Yeah.
Gunner's going on 5 years old, so he's still bouncing around and having a good time with life.
Got anything? You got 60 seconds, brother. The mic's yours.
I think that's it. I want to thank you for inviting me on. I hope I've helped some people understand things about all the things I've been through, police, fire, EMS. And if you got questions, let me know. I'd be happy to answer them.
Yeah, and I think next time I think the bunch of the bastards are gonna show up. And I think in this spring, especially when Joe gets his new boat, man, he's super excited about his boat. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
And I'd like to do an outdoor one.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? But I won't
you,
know.
Get you out to SHOT Show.
That would be awesome. I heard some good things. I always want, but I want to see Vegas. I'd like to go to SHOT Show, but I also want to see Vegas, like, not in your typical normal Vegas fashion. I would like to see kind of, I'm not a gambler, not much of a gambler.
Yeah.
I definitely want to see a fucking show, and I know a lot of my bros are not going to go see the show that I want to go see.
And that's fine. I mean, we, after SHOT Show, we may go get something to eat, but we all hang out at the house,
Yeah.
I mean, Justin Cochran, he left. He went out gambling, and a couple of the other guys, So you're not hogtied to the group. Go do your thing.
Yeah, but if I gotta hang out with the bros, I gotta hang out with the bros. You know what I mean?
Well,
so I'd feel bad.
We're there for 4 days. We're there 4 days.
I'd ask too if maybe you guys want to go see like a Michael Bublé concert, but I doubt you're gonna say yeah.
Oh, I'd go to that.
Would you?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah, that's something I definitely want to see before I leave this planet.
Yeah.
I just wish he'd get out, not outside. You know what I mean? It'd be awesome if he'd tour, not just have a.
Right. Yeah.
But I get it when you're making hand over fist money. Stay where you're at.
Yeah. Your bucket list. That was that ride I took in the P-51 Mustang. That was my bucket list.
Yeah.
Yep.
That'd probably be that. Oh man, that'd be fun.
Oh yeah.
I pretty much scratched everything off my bucket list. I did that young, just in case. But I got Michael Bublé concert. Italy. I want to definitely go to Italy. I want to go to Ireland, but that'll be the last fucking thing I do because I'm afraid I'd just live there. Like, I'm afraid I'd buy a small little house next to a nice green field and start growing fucking taters and drinking my whiskey out on my front porch.
Yeah.
So we'll leave that for the last one, right?
Yeah.
And then other than that, man, I think I've scratched everything off.
Good. Yeah.
All right, brother. Thanks for joining me today, man.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate
Have a wonderful afternoon.
Especially it was last minute.
No worries.
And I'm sure I'll
get
you on here
prepping
again.
Up, so I'm thinking we're going out to a late or early dinner. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell we're gonna do for dinner tonight. I'll figure it out. I'm definitely cooking. I know that.
All right.
All right, brother.
Thank you, sir.
See you, bub.
Let me